Good morning. I was sort of counting heads, but I'm also counting minutes. We're a few minutes past 10. Certainly appreciate everyone being here. Most of you know that we do a quarterly kind of update of a lot of regular reports and sometimes special ones. We have a couple special ones today, and I appreciate everyone being here. And I particularly want to thank all of our presenters today, our five folks, for preparing all their information in advance. It is so helpful to have that sort of in your head before we hear it. Then we're already sort of thinking about questions, comments, and it probably makes it goes so much smoother. So it's really helpful to have that. And we appreciate everyone getting in and appreciate our clerk for sort of dogging it, put it together, and getting this to us. So there's a couple steps to that. Anyway, welcome. And we're going to begin today. We have actually 5 presentations, and we're going to start. This is one we've not had before. The first two together. It was the sheriff's office is going to give us a drone operations report with Brian Mullins, and then Basil App's going to give us an AeroX ground-based radar, which really has a link to the first one. So we'll start with those two, and Brian, you're up.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Thank you for having me today. Actually, the sheriff, I think, was going to say a few words, but he'll jump in when he gets here. My name is Brian Mullins. I am the sergeant over the drone team with the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office. I have been with the Sheriff's Office since May of 2012. My current assignment is to be the commander over the drone unit, and I'm also the remote pilot for our drone as first responder operations. As you can see, let me get my presentation started here. Go ahead, leave. I'm sorry. Okay. There we go. You should have my presentation in front of you. The only thing that I'm going to point out today as far as my qualifications or my certifications that I've earned in law enforcement is I have a background in aviation, and you may think that really is not relatable to law enforcement, but it kind of ties in with what I'm going to talk about today. I became a licensed pilot in 1999. In the year 2000, I earned my instrument rating and just did private flying for personal fun. But back in probably 2018, just out of nowhere, I took an interest in drones and purchased a drone of my own and began to learn how to fly it. And that was before I knew that anything with drones was going to develop at the sheriff's office. Our droning unit began in late 2018, early 2019. I was the only drone pilot at the sheriff's office, and we had one drone. We actually have one of those here today to show you what we started out with. And as you can imagine, technology is really evolving in this field. And it is, if you think of the cell phone, 30 years ago, we had no idea back then how it would revolutionize all of our daily lives, but it has. And I believe that drones are currently doing that today. They are revolutionizing our lives, and we may not even really understand today what an integral part they're going to play in our future. But I want to just touch on that a little bit throughout this presentation. As you can see, our drone team has grown from just me to now we have 11 licensed FAA drone pilots. There's only 10 of us pictured here because one of them works undercover and he's not allowed to be pictured, but we do have 11 licensed pilots. We currently have 7 drones in our fleet. These are the ones that we have. We have various uses that we use our drones for. We do have a software that we use on all of them called DroneSense. What this does, among many other things, is it allows us to take the camera footage that that drone is looking at and live stream it to others that they can see what the drone is seeing. This really has changed our operations dramatically, because before, when we first started, the drone pilot was the only one who was able to see what the drone was looking at. Now, we have the ability to stream that footage, and that camera, it's high-resolution images. We're able to stream that to our command staff, to even deputies on the ground, anyone who has a need to see what the drone is seeing. And it really gives us in law enforcement a different perspective to be able to see from the air what is happening on the ground. As you all know, I'm sure we've flown in airplanes. Things look different from up there. And being able to provide this perspective to our deputies and our command staff is integral in having safe and peaceful outcomes in many situations. We currently operate a program in Clemens called Drone as a First Responder. We began this program in October of last year, and we routinely fly on a weekly basis. We launch this drone from a stationary point. We have a licensed drone pilot who is also a deputy stationed there with that drone. It is always on. It is always ready to go at a moment's notice. And when a call comes out in that area that we fly to, we send the drone, and most of the time the drone arrives before the ground personnel. We're able to get critical information to see if anything is going on there that is pertinent to that the deputies on the ground would need to know. Sometimes no news is good news. So if we get there and nothing critical is happening, all is well. But if something bad is going on, we're able to relay that information and give them a heads up. And that's always a benefit to law enforcement, to have intelligence early on. In February of 22, our drone was called out to assist with the Weaver Fertilizer Fire plant fire. Our drone was the most capable drone that was in this region. And we worked with many other agencies, the Winston-Salem Police Department, the Winston-Salem Fire Department, many other law enforcement agencies. And our drone footage was critical in providing live stream footage to the command staff as they fought that devastating fire, which could have been much worse. And actually, our drone footage was shown on national newscasts all around the world, probably. But we had the most sophisticated equipment in this area, and it was vital that we were able to be there and provide this valuable resource to those command staff in the early hours of this fire. Since February of last year, our drone pilots have launched and flown drones over 2,300 times in this county and at times in other counties around us as we have assisted other agencies. In partnership with AeroX, we have formed a solid relationship with the FAA. And last year, we were granted a waiver to fly our Clemens drone 2 miles, which is astounding to think that you can take that piece of equipment and fly it out 2 miles from that location. We do that routinely on almost a daily basis. They have granted us waivers that I don't know of any other law enforcement agency in the state of North Carolina that is currently doing the things that we are with drones. Recently, the American Heart Association awarded a multi-million-dollar grant to Duke University. This is for the study of quick deliveries of AEDs to patients that may be experiencing a cardiac event. This is something that has never been done before. And due to our knowledge and reputation and expertise in the area of drones, they have selected the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office as one of the partners to begin this research study. And we're very proud of that, to think that Among all of the agencies in the 100 counties in North Carolina, we were chosen to assist Duke University with this study. So time will tell how this plays out and the effectiveness of this technology being used in delivering AEDs. But I can tell you that drones are integrating themselves into our everyday life. Right now, here in North Carolina, every day, Walmart packages are currently being delivered by drones. Believe it or not, food orders are being delivered via drones. Here in Winston-Salem, on a daily basis, lab tests and medical supplies are being transported via drone. We have seen that operation, and it's very impressive. So I can tell you with 100% confidence, this technology is here to stay. And it is being utilized by every facet of our society. Businesses are using it, and it makes perfect sense for public safety agencies to use this technology.
Sergeant Mullins, can I just interrupt you before you leave that slide?
Yes, sir.
Since you were taking a breath.
Yes, sir.
And I didn't mean to interrupt your flow, but can you just explain that, does that fly, it actually has the AED, a part of the drone, and does it actually then land and somebody, because, I mean, AEDs are pretty, you can't hurt people with them typically, and so then does just a John Q. citizen, a husband or wife or somebody apply it and use it? I'm just asking this, the practical matter.
No, that's a very good question.
Curiosity question.
The picture that you're looking at of this drone, that is not probably the one that we use. There will be a specialized drone, and there are different ways that packages can be delivered safely. In the case of the Walmart deliveries, there's a winch system on that particular drone that it hovers overhead. I think it lowers down to about 75 feet above the ground. And then it just very slowly and safely winches that item down to the ground. And when that item touches the ground, it has a mechanism that releases the hook, and then the winch retracts and the drone goes back home. There are also some technology where you can utilize a parachute to do the same thing, that you have a small package with a parachute on it, you release it, the parachute inflates and then slowly allows that item to go to the ground. I would imagine that this is still obviously early in the talks of this, and I don't even have all the answers of how this will play out or the technology that will be utilized, because as I said, this has not been done before. But I would imagine that it would probably be more along the lines of a winch system that would lower it down safely. And AEDs are, I don't know if you're familiar with them at all, but we train with them on a regular basis because we have to be first aid and CPR certified. But once you turn it on, it tells you what to do next. So it tells you how to apply the pads. It tells you when to take your hands off the person, and it's going to apply a shock. So it's pretty easy for the average person to use an AED once they get their hands on it. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay.
I didn't mean to interrupt your flow.
No, sir, you're fine. So in law enforcement in particular, what we are looking for out of a drone, any drone, is three things. We want a good visual camera that has a very capable zoom operation. We want a good resolution infrared camera, and I'll show you in a little bit what that looks like. And we also want good battery endurance, good battery life, because obviously these are battery-powered devices. They run on lithium batteries, and there's only a certain amount of time you can stay in the air before they need to return and land and have the battery swapped. So those three things are critical to us: a good visual camera, a good infrared camera, and good battery life. And we have tried to wisely spend the county's money in buying the best that we can with the money that we have, because we believe that this technology is changing the game in law enforcement and just in daily life. And we will show you some examples of that here in just a moment. So these are some videos. You can see this playing now. I wish that I could kind of point out to you, but this is at the end of a vehicle pursuit that our agency was involved in. The driver of the suspect vehicle fled and jumped out and then ran on foot. As you can see, this is right next to a major highway. I'll tell you what is happening here. That black spot that is toward the middle of your screen, that is the suspect that ran from us. And there were deputies all around this area. This was at nighttime. That was heavily brush overgrowth there. They could not see. They looked in there, could not see anybody. In a moment, you will see a Winston-Salem police officer with a canine come up. That dog, in the full video, had been roaming all around this area, did not show any interest in where that person was. But this drone operator, and this is an infrared camera on the drone, what it does is it picks up heat signatures. This was fall or winter time. There's not many leaves on the trees. Obviously, the temperatures are colder, so that suspect's body temperature was making him create that infrared heat spot there. The drone operator was able to direct those deputies on the ground to where he was at. And as you could see, they were probably within 10 to 12 feet of him and could not see him at all. But he could not hide the heat signature that his body was putting off from the drone. So that was a successful apprehension. This is, let me back up one. This is, if you're familiar with this, it's a car lot by Norfolk Southern where they ship in new automobiles. Thousands of them are housed here before they are distributed out throughout the Piedmont. We had been getting larcenies of vehicles and break-ins on automobiles, and the deputies on the ground responded and were able to locate. This is the same image with infrared. They were able to locate one of the suspects here at a rail car. You can see them converging there. I believe we also had a canine on the ground in this incident. But this just shows you, if you can try to imagine and put yourself as one of those deputies on the ground and you're walking by all of these rail cars, you have very, very limited visibility either underneath or through the openings. And it could be a very dangerous situation, but when you get this drone up above them and look down, they quickly were able to see this individual and again take him into custody. This here is an incident that we were called out on a few weeks ago. This was a missing juvenile that was autistic. This family had just moved here to the state from Colorado just a few days before this. The juvenile turned up missing. This again was at night. He was located on the roof, and you can see there one of the deputies come out of a window on the roof and safely apprehend him and get him back into the house safely. This is a retail theft that we captured with the drone, or at least part of it. This is from the Ulta store in Clemens. And if you're familiar with this at all, this store has been hit multiple times. Not just this store, but a lot of the Ultas around the county have been hit. I don't know why, but thieves have been targeting this store. They called and said that there were 2 shoplifters in the store. We were able to get the drone there just as they were exiting the store. This was a perfect scenario because right as we saw them exit, a deputy on the ground arrived, called out to them, and you can tell they were initially going to try to get to the car and get away. He apprehends them and takes them back in, and they were charged. Again, this may not seem like it's saving the world, but let me just give you the what if here. If the deputy on the ground had not been there, let me tell you what the drone could have done. We could have seen them get into, I believe they were with that white vehicle. We could have seen them get into that white vehicle. We probably could have maneuvered the drone around and zoomed in and gotten the license plate of that vehicle. At the very least, we would have been able to watch that vehicle leave the parking lot and give directions of travel and probably watch them for a significant amount of time. And we could have gotten on the radio and told other deputies in the area where they were headed. So I believe that even if they had not been apprehended here, we would have been able, through the drone and what we were seeing, relay that information, and they would have been apprehended close by. This is an incident that we went to a few months ago. We were sending the drone in Clemens to a 911 hang-up call, and it was phasing just across the interstate there at the hotel. And as we lifted off, Deputy Lasley here, who mans the drone in Clemens, he saw this smoke coming from the ground nearby, so we flew the drone over there. And as you will see in just a moment, this was a massive house fire that had just been going for a few moments. This was a discarded cigarette that an elderly female had put out on the front porch, and the winds whipped up the cigarette and it caught the house on fire. I probably won't be able to point it out to you here, but if you look closely at a certain point, you can actually see the female leaving the front of the residence. He will zoom in here closely, and you can see just how bad this fire was. It totally destroyed the home. After this incident, the Clemens Fire Department wanted to partner with us, and they wanted this footage to use for training because they were actually in the area training this day. They were really close, and it still took them a little while to get organized and get there to the scene and actually start putting water on this fire. But they said, how can we partner with you guys? How can we get this footage on our phones or our computers? So we created a link through DroneSense that now if we're flying a fire mission or even an accident, we flew one the other day, there was an accident, and we can switch to that mission, and basically what it does is it will send them a link where they can see what the drone is seeing. And in situations like this, that is invaluable information, because if they had had this early on, they would have known this is a bad fire and we're going to need more resources. Believe it or not, there is a serious, potentially dangerous incident happening right here on this screen. You might say, I don't see anything, it's just black. I showed you this because I want you to see what this same scene looks like through the infrared camera and how it's a total game changer for us. This is, I'll just tell you what's happening here before we go to the next one. This is an incident that happened a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago. You can see some lights come on now and some people moving around. This is an incident that happened in our county, I think about 2 years ago. We got called out, our SWAT team got activated. This particular individual was a law enforcement officer from another agency. He was SWAT trained, very highly trained individual, and he was going through a mental health crisis. He was having a family breakdown. He had made threats to his family. The family was able to escape the home, so he was left barricaded there in the house. Our negotiators were trying to talk to him and get him to surrender. That was not going very well at all. He was actually making threats to our SWAT team that if they came in, he was going to do this and do that. So I was there with one of our drones, and our drones record in regular camera and infrared camera at the same time. So I wanted to show you this camera view. This is the natural camera view. This is how dark it really was. You could not see anything. There was no street lights, anything lighting up the area. And now I want to show you that same incident with infrared. If you look up to the top of the screen, this is our armored Bearcat where our SWAT team is gathered. They had the front of the house covered. If you notice, there's a tall wooden fence that surrounded the backyard. That's why they couldn't get a good view of the back of the house. So I'm watching it with the drone, and I see the man appear in the bottom doorway. I think he's going to come out and give up to them, but he had other intentions. You'll see what happens. He takes off running through the neighbor's yard. And he was safely apprehended. No injuries to our deputies, no injuries to him. This incident changed my perspective on drones. This was in the middle of the night. I had been called out. I have a small TV screen in the back of my vehicle that I'm able to see this on. At this time, I was the only drone there. So obviously when the battery gets low, I have to bring it back, change the battery, and then send it back on scene. Luckily, this incident happened just after a battery swap and I got the drone back on scene. I took I took a personal responsibility upon me to watch the back of that house and make sure that my coworkers were safe. And had he come out with a rifle or some other firearm and turned that corner and began shooting at them, he may have gotten a lucky shot. As you can see from the prior video, it was black, as dark as it can be. This camera turned the lights on. This camera gave us the ability to see things that we couldn't see with a natural eye. And even our SWAT team, they operate with night vision goggles. There's a depth perception issue that comes when wearing those. So they're not always able to see. It's not like turning the lights on with them, but with this camera, it's almost like turning the lights on. This technology has the potential to save lives. This is our breakdown of the budget, and as you're looking at that, I will just continue to, I'll wrap up here. Our expertise and the things that we are doing with drones here in Forsyth County has gathered a momentum, and an attention has been shined on us and on this agency. And I don't say that boastfully for myself or even for Sheriff Kimbrough. We're doing amazing things here with drones. And so are many other agencies around this country. But I want you all to be proud that you sit in this, on this board for this county, and we are doing incredible things here. Just last week, 1 week ago, 1 week ago, we had folks from the NYPD come here to see what we were doing with drones. That's amazing. They're using drones and they're doing some things with drones out in the field, but they came here to Forsyth County and were impressed with what they saw. And I'm passionate about this because I know that this technology can save lives. It makes us safer and it makes the citizens safer. If we can use a drone to look at a situation and diffuse and de-escalate a situation, it's a win. If we can look at a situation and see that this guy's got a gun, stay back, get more resources, it's a win. This technology is going to continue to advance. As I said earlier, the cell phones have, who thought we would be walking around with basically a little computer in our hand that can do anything? There's no telling what drones are going to look like 10 or 20 years from now. But I can tell you that even in the 4 to 5 years that we have been operating in drones at the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office, technology has continued to just go through the roof. Deputy Liza, could you bring me the old drone? Thank you. This is one of the original drones that we started with 5 years ago. One problem that we're seeing, we still have two of these older technology drones in service. One problem that we're seeing is the batteries are starting to swell on the bottom. And when you put this battery in here, you can see that it doesn't seat correctly. And unfortunately, if it disconnects, this thing becomes a rock. We have replaced it with newer technology. We have two of these. This is a great little drone for what it does. You can see they totally redesigned the battery. The camera system on this is amazing. You might look at this and think this is a little toy, but what this drone can do and just the camera that you can see is incredible. So in 4 to 5 years, we've gone from this to this, and we have some bigger ones too. I just wanted to show you how just the small drones have changed. We still have two of these in operation. Actually, one of the deputies working last night got called to assist the Winston-Salem Police Department. You may have seen the alert on the news for the 16-year-old autistic boy that has been missing. I don't know if he's been found yet. One of our drone operators went out last night with one of these older technology drones, and he called me and he said, I was not able to find him. I flew all over, but I started getting batteries overheating and swelling up on me. So for safety, for people on the ground and for us, we have got to replace some of this technology. And with that, I will yield to Sheriff Kimbrough.
Sergeant Mullins.
Appreciate you all. I appreciate the
Sheriff
opportunity.
Kimbrough, before you start, I apologize. I needed to just make a comment to Sergeant Mullins. Sir, thank you so very much for being here, and you have really opened my eyes in terms of what this drone operation does. I appreciate this whole department, for the Sheriff's Department, for being cutting edge and keeping us safe. So without those images today, yeah, they look like toys, probably to many of us. But to see what the real work does and how you keep our constituents safe and what it does, I sincerely appreciate that day. So it's a game changer for me. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Before you
I
sit down,
appreciate
I certainly echo the comments of Commissioner McDaniel. And just by the way, you are an excellent presenter.
Thank
You do
you.
a great job. Perfect. You could be on the national circuit.
Thank you.
So the sheriff will start sending you out to make these presentations for a fee, speaker's fee. They'll come
Well,
back
he's gonna
to
have to give
help
me a
fund
raise
the
if he
future of
does
this
that.
thing.
We'll see.
No, you did a great, excellent job, Sergeant
I
Mullins. Excellent.
appreciate you all. Good morning, Dr. Martin. Good morning, Commissioners. As Sergeant Mullins said, we are already getting invitations all over this country with the drone program being cutting edge. We just come back from Mile High, Colorado. We actually headed up to New York on September the 10th. It's because of the funding that you all have given us that we're cutting edge. When we began this program 4 years ago talking about it, you all believed in us. You slowly gave us the funding, and here we are now. Now we're at a place to where we have NYPD, Duke University, the Heart Association have commissioned the first in these United States of America to have drones as AED and Narcan being able to do that. They chose your county, our county, to do that. As a matter of fact, I've spoken with the deputy county commissioner because they've asked us to put a group together to look at how to best do what they're wanting to do, and they have the funding to do it. And so I thank you all for that. What the future looks like for drones, I can't say enough about Basil Yap and Aero X for being the guide for us to walk us through technical issues with the FAA. So what the future looks like with drone, we're looking at drones in a box, DIBs. And basically what that is to be able to put drones strategically throughout this county, the north, the south, the east, and the west. And anytime a call comes in, we're able to dispatch that drone simultaneously with the call coming in. And so the money that you all graciously gave us, we're going to use that to purchase maybe one or two to just see what we got going on. And so because of you all and the funding, we have people coming and ringing our phones constantly because we are the only law enforcement agency in this region that has drones as a first responder. We will be a part of the only law enforcement agencies in this United States to be studying drones as utilizing them with AEDs and Narcan. I was sitting in the CEO's office at Atrium the other day. Her and I were having a conversation with Dr. Richburg and the United Way. And as we were sitting there on the 10th floor, we noticed a drone flying. And she said, Sheriff, you familiar with those? And I said, yes, ma'am. I said, what you all got going? She said they deliver cancer medicine to Atrium. And as it was landing on the drone port, the heliport they had there, I started laughing and I said, wow, even a hospital is out there. So I want to thank you all for what you do. Thank you for allowing us to be here this morning to present that. And thank you for your continued support. Thank you.
Sheriff Kimbrough, I do have a question for you. I did hear you say that it was going to, this operation was going to be expanded in the northeast, southwest.
Yes, ma'am.
So I heard that there was some possible concerns in the East Winston area because of the airport. Is that true?
So we have been looking at them not inside the city. Not inside the city.
Not inside the city.
We've been responding out in the county. When you come inside the city, there's a whole nother conversation in terms of aerospace, but there's technology out there, and that's why we're working with AeroX to get FAA clearance as to where and how we can utilize them in the city.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, as I mentioned earlier, we're going up to New York on the 10th to compare notes as to help them figure out their drone as a first responder and see how they're utilizing to map it out in the city of New York, utilizing them.
How do you know how long that research may take?
Now, that's the man, the expert in that area, Mr. Basil Yep. I would have to
Okay.
tender him to you for questions in that area in terms of flying them inside the city in certain airspace.
Certainly. Okay. I'll wait. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Sheriff. Any questions, other questions for the sheriff or Sergeant Mullins?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning. How you doing, Commissioner Bessie?
Just fine. Yourself? Good. Have you had conversations with Winston-Salem and Kernersville Police Departments about shared use, shared cost, or adaptations for their department's use?
Yes, so me and Chief Penn have had numerous conversations. As a matter of fact, we have invited him to go to New York with us on the 10th. We're taking him to New York with us. So basically the conversation that we've been having is trying to create some of the things that we share, like we share certain specialized unit. We're talking about how can we share some of our real-time intelligence? How can we share some of our specialized units, i.e. the drones? As Sergeant Mullins mentioned last night, we were called out to assist in locating the young man that's autistic. And so the conversation we're having is always a different kind of conversation when he and I have that. And I think that conversation is probably going to have to incorporate county commissioners and city folk as well, because that kind of conversation is going to be balancing in a lot of different ways. It's going to be a true balancing act.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
Excuse me, Chair Martin, I think I'm dealing with some allergies, so I forgive my voice, but as the presentation was, dictated to us, it made me think about what if we had drones before the incident at Mount Tabor. And that's real-time effect on our community. I always say that I have very few times seen our sheriff in a state of mind where I'm concerned about him. He always have it together. But I think going into a school and seeing a young person dead and having to carry that child out did something to him and his staff in helping our community to move forward. And then on top of that, just the 2-day stress around trying to find the kid who had done the shooting was very stressful on everybody, from the school system to the sheriff's department to this community. And I think that we have to definitely think very strategic about how we utilize law enforcement now as it relates to an approach that is the most safe and peaceful, so that we can serve our community in a 21st century way. And I think that it is definitely important for the commission to consider, on behalf of the citizens, to invest in the technology that keeps us safe and peaceful, instead of always the reactionary stuff that puts us behind the 8 ball, and also just put everybody, whether it is the citizen or the law enforcement agency, in that much more of a desperate situation. So that is definitely what came to my mind. So I appreciate the leadership from the Sheriff's Department in trying to make sure that our county is most of all very safe in this 21st century landscape.
I appreciate that. What I can truly say is that we are truly, and I say we, that includes you all, we are truly the drum majors in that space. We are getting calls from all over the country, people wanting to visit. How are we doing it? Just basically study what we're doing. Myself, Sergeant Mullins, and Basil Yap, we were up in Buncombe County with them, looking at how to utilize drones in terms of drones on patrol in remote areas and rural areas where they can't get to, where they have 10 to 15 minute response time, to be able to gather information and come back and look at it and see things that you miss as you saw in the night vision. So this space is truly one that is constantly evolving. And again, I can't thank you all enough for having the foresight to help fund it and to be leaders in that space. And we will continue to serve this county and utilize the dollars that you give us in that area to lead that space.
Sheriff, thank you.
No, thank you.
Basil, we're ready.
Good morning, Commissioners and members of the public. Again, my name is Basil Yap. I'm president of AeroX and excited to speak with you this morning and give you an update on our progress. So AeroX, as just maybe a quick reminder for some of the new members since the last time I've presented to this board, AeroX is a nonprofit based right here in Winston-Salem that's focused on advanced air mobility. And advanced air mobility is really a term used for one of the largest advancements in aviation since the jet engine. And as we just heard, that's really driven by a few different things. Autonomy, batteries, improvement in batteries, and improvement in electric motors. And so a great example of this technology is what we just heard about, drones, electric powered. The autonomy on it allows it to be safer. You don't need a pilot on board anymore. You can fly it from a remote location. And so again, some of the clear benefits is it's cheaper, faster, smarter, cleaner, and most importantly, this technology is making aviation much safer. And so we are really excited about this technology. I've spent the last 10 years of my life in this space. And so 2 years ago, I moved here to Winston-Salem to help start this initiative, and I'm really excited about the progress we've seen today. So we're a 501c6 and a 501c3. Our goal is to create a national model for advanced air mobility, AM, in an urban setting that underpins and propels our region's economy. And so, as we just noted, a national model, we're already well on our way to establishing that national model with some of our partners like Forsyth County Sheriff's Office and the great work they're doing, attracting attention both all over the country, but internationally as well. So what I would like to give you an update today about is Project Atlas. So Project Atlas is a focus for us. Atlas is an acronym that stands for Air Traffic Low Altitude Surveillance. We love our acronyms in aviation. And it's focused really on enabling 3 different sectors. So package delivery, public safety, and infrastructure monitoring. And I'll talk a little bit more about those different business use cases and why this is important. And this really is an economic development initiative. There is no Silicon Valley, so to speak, for this space. And as the progress you just heard and some of the other progress we'll share, we're creating that Silicon Valley right here in this region, right here in Winston-Salem. And so part of enabling this economy and this and attracting companies is going to be the infrastructure that's required. And so think of Project Atlas as an air traffic control system for drones. And I'll explain that here with this slide. What we're enabling is flying a drone a much further distance than essentially being able to see the drone. So right now, the rules primarily are focused on seeing a drone while it's flying to ensure that you don't run that drone into a person, a tree, but most importantly, you don't run that into a plane. Last thing you want to know or hear as you're taking off out of Greensboro is that the aircraft hit a drone or a medevac helicopter coming into our hospitals here in the region and they hitting a drone. It's a very dangerous situation. But that's where the real benefit of drones are, when we can fly these much further and longer distances. And that's called flying beyond visual line of sight, BVLOS. And our goal of this project is to be able to expand the small footprint of where we're seeing operations take place right now here and expand that to cover the entire county and beyond. So I apologize for this photo. It may be a little bit difficult to read, but we just heard about Forsyth County Sheriff's Office operating in Clemens. That's the circle there, the red circle there in the lower left-hand corner. The top in the center, this is where Atrium Wake Forest Baptist is currently using drones to deliver medical supplies. Now, they are limited by how far they can fly by a couple different factors. One, again, they need to be able to see or ensure that they can deconflict with any aircraft flying in that area. So what Project Atlas is doing is creating a surveillance system, a aircraft surveillance system that can detect where aircraft are in this entire region, that entire green circle there. And when we can do that, this whole area, including this entire county, will be an area where we can use drones for a variety of different use cases, which I mentioned before: package delivery, public safety, and of course, infrastructure inspection. And this is really exciting because this is the only place, the only urban area in the entire United States where this type of system is being developed. And that has gotten the attention of NASA, that's gotten the attention of the Federal Aviation Administration. And so we have agreements with both of those entities to help build this system and share data and ensure that it's the safest system. In addition, we know that the US is one of the largest markets for drones. And so by also building this system, not only are we attracting companies within our country, we're really excited about attracting companies from other countries as well that are interested in getting into the US market. As I noted, we're focused on 3 different use cases. Package delivery, the first being UPS. They're flying right now at Atrium Wake Forest Baptist Hospital, as we heard, delivering cancer drugs as well as delivering medical or specimens. So for example, if you go to the hospital and you get a blood draw, they'll take that out, and now they can put that in a drone and fly it from that clinic back to the main hospital, which is where the lab is. Now, traditionally, that's been done by a van that would come around twice a day, pick that up, or once a day, pick it all up. But now it could be on demand, getting that blood sample back, blood tested, and subsequent appointments can be then scheduled. And so this, again, is cleaner, of course, than a van driving. It's safer because we're taking a vehicle off the road, and it's quicker because it can be on demand, flying quickly. Public safety, we heard an excellent presentation by Sergeant Mullins and the sheriff. Infrastructure inspection, Duke Energy is a partner with us. Duke Energy uses drones to inspect their power lines after a storm and do regular inspections. They also use drones for their power plant facilities, ensure the security. Again, they're a partner with us, and so by setting up the system, we're going to be able to expand how they use their drones. So each of these three categories right here is a tremendous business opportunity. We know that these drones are changing, the software is changing. And companies that are developing software and drones for these use cases all over the country, all over the world, will be interested now in coming to Winston-Salem as we get this system set up to be able to test that software, be able to partner with our partners like the Sheriff's Office, the different healthcare systems, as well as Duke Energy, and more partners. And that will be a really exciting economic development initiative for us. So we received $5 million from the state of North Carolina. It was in the last budget bill, and we actually got that money into our bank accounts in March of last year. And so over the past year, we've been going through a process of designing the system, picking the right infrastructure or right tools or right equipment to buy, identifying locations to install that. And this process has continued through that past year. And as we go into this year, we should have the system installed, running by the end of this year. You'll see here we're in phase 2 right now. We've wrapped up phase 1, the design part, and we're in phase 2 where we're actually installing the equipment now and finding those locations and working with partners, onboarding partners, drone delivery companies and others that are interested in using that system at the beginning of next year. One of our big purchases this year, and probably a substantial cost of this entire program, is the radar system. So we have purchased 2 radars from a company called SRC. They have a L-Star radar, and these are the best radars on the market right now to detect aircraft in this area. And so these have been used in the military. We're one of the first civilians that they have sold this product to, and we will be installing these in 2 of these radars in Forsyth County, and they will be able to detect aircraft that are flying at about 400 feet and higher. And this is really important because this is where helicopter traffic is going to be flying. This is where general aviation traffic is going to be flying. They're going to be able to see aircraft flying in and out of Smith Reynolds Airport and the helicopters coming in and out of our healthcare systems. We chose this radar, again, because it has a proven track record. It's also used by NASA. And so part of those radars are being built right now, and we should have those radars delivered in the coming months. And so part of the process that we're going through right now is identifying locations to install those. And so we've identified 4 different locations throughout our state, or throughout the county, primarily on water towers, because as you know, a water tower is much higher than the tree line. And the picture you see there on the left is a weather radar that was installed. We have 3 of these installed in North Carolina. It's a very similar size radar that's been installed, in this particular case, installed in High Point. But this is similar to what you would see potentially in the future on 2 water tower sites in Forsyth County. These are the 4 locations that we have identified. You can see there, different areas throughout our county. And you may ask, well, we have a really tall Wells Fargo tower right here in downtown Winston-Salem. Why don't you just put it right on top of that? Well, we actually need to have 2 that are overlapping, and the area of downtown Winston-Salem is going to be that area where it's overlapping. You can imagine a light shining, right? If you're shining a light and there are towers and obstructions, anything behind that's not picked up by the radar. So these 2 radars are able to close that gap and fill the area that's covered that has the tallest buildings. And so we're looking at these 3 different sites, and we are really excited about choosing a site in the coming month and having those radars installed in the following months. So that was, I know, a very quick overview, but all in all, we're on track. We're excited about getting this program up and running and providing these services at the beginning of next year. What I haven't mentioned is some of maybe the other work that we were doing behind the scenes, including working with folks like Forsyth County, Elizabeth City State University, and others to kind of really ensure that we have the right ecosystem here in our community. So when these jobs start coming and these opportunities start coming to our region, we want to ensure that our community has the first access to these jobs, right? And so part of that has been working with Forsyth, or the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Career Center. They now have a drone program. They have a very robust aviation program as well. And we've been excited to work with Elizabeth City State University, a 4-year degree program where they can now offer remote degree programs right here in our county, and they can do the flight training for those at Smith Reynolds Airport. And so we're continuing to find opportunities, for example, like with Duke Medical and others, to be able to really kind of make our region and our area a shining star. Anyone that's interested in advanced air mobility, anyone that's interested in drones knows that the place to be is going to be Forsyth County, North Carolina. Thank you.
I'll ask a real quick question and then open it up. Those 2, I think they're L-Stars that you're looking at installing and with overlapping radii. When they're installed, they'll cover the entire footprint of Forsyth County.
Yes, sir, and beyond.
Okay, so they're, all right. I was going to ask what the radius is per, but it really doesn't matter. Other questions for Basil?
Well, I'll expound off that question. So, I was asking a question about the East Winston area and how it may conflict with the airport, FAA. When should we be looking at that expansion?
So I'm not entirely sure the conflict, but I do know that the airport has an airspace around it that's controlled. Maybe that's the conflict you're talking about. We want to ensure that we are operating drones in a way that's not going to in any way impact the safe operations of aircraft flying in and out of our out of the airport. And so what will actually happen is, so right now the air traffic control operators that sit in the tower at Smith Reynolds Airport are essentially visually looking outside of their tower and managing traffic. We will actually have better coverage now with this system that we can share with the airport. They'll have better visibility of everything that's happening.
Is my memory correct that from the very first time I heard about this, is that the airport control tower and radar covers sort of the 400 feet up, and that these L-Star radars are kind of covering the 400 feet down? Is that sort of accurate?
So yeah, there's no radar that the airport has at Smith Reynolds right now. The radar that the closest radar is at Greensboro,
okay.
PTI. Yep.
But that would be accurate to say that the radar at PTI is kind of a 400 foot and above?
Yeah, it has an angle, so it's not always at 400 foot and lower. It's actually, when I take off out of the airport, I usually get radar contact at maybe 7 or 1,000 feet off the ground. But if you think about where PTI is, or the Greensboro Airport, and these towers right here that we're in, there's a large area blocked behind this that the radar can't see. And so our radars, are going to be able to have just full coverage of that entire area down at low altitudes.
Got it. Other questions for Basil?
Beyond the sort of first responder, public safety application, what is the system that you're in the process of installing now designed to serve?
So there were two other markets that I had mentioned. Package delivery. So we think about healthcare systems right now. We have Atrium Wake Forest Baptist. They're using drones to deliver medicine from their hospital out to clinics. They're also interested in expanding that both from clinics into communities. If we think about COVID, in the response to COVID, we've seen telehealth. So we can now call a doctor up or have a Zoom call with a doctor. And that's been very beneficial. But even though you're in your home, you still can't always get access to medicine or maybe a lab sample. So they're very interested in how they can use drones for that package delivery or picking up either specimens or delivering medicine. The second one I'll note, I'll pause there.
No, go ahead.
The second one I'll note is infrastructure inspection. So construction sites or folks like Duke Energy that needs to look at their power lines, or gas companies, they're using drones to fly along their linear infrastructure to inspect it, whether it's after a storm or routine inspection.
What about general commercial use, the stereotypical small package delivery? I'm less sanguine about the safety concerns when it comes to Walmart, FedEx, residential home delivery. Please.
So, sorry, maybe we can clarify the question. You're talking about all of the other use cases outside of the ones I mentioned?
Yeah, the potential commercial uses for basically package delivery.
Oh, like a Walmart?
Yeah.
Yeah. So as Sergeant Mullins noted, Walmart is already using drones to deliver packages here in North Carolina. So they're very interested in expanding. Of course, in competition with Walmart, you're seeing other CVS, Walgreens, Target, everyone very interested in now how can we use drones to deliver supplies.
Then let me ask the underlying question, which is under current FAA regulation, is that permitted without local authorization?
Yes, it is permitted. It's limited in the fact that they can't fly these really long distances, which we're trying to focus on. But the FAA has taken a stand that they own the airspace essentially from the blades of grass to the heavens. And that's been a long-standing conflict for lots of years about where does local government, where do you as a property owner own that airspace? And but for now, that approval has been coming from the FAA. What we're helping enable for these longer distance operations is that we are saying, FAA, you can approve these other operations because we now have a sensor which is not found anywhere else in the country, and we have this very important data that we're feeding to these operators that they can operate safely.
For the current delivery operations, are they restricted to visual line of sight?
Yes, they're restricted to visual line of sight.
So they actually have to have an operator in the field, but if they have an operator in the field, they can deliver the package everywhere without any
Yeah.
further authorization.
Yeah.
So there's a question to go beyond that, then is there a fee paid? Look at the economic impact for a Walmart if they can now avoid the beyond line of sight.
Yeah, the plan that we have for Atlas is there is going to be a fee that will be associated with receiving those services because part of our promise to the North Carolina legislature was that we would obtain, a fee that could help sustain and maintain the equipment. So, yes.
Thank you.
Other questions? Thank you very much. That was
Thank you.
a great update. We certainly appreciate that. And we apologize to our president of Forsyth Tech, Dr. Janet Spriggs, but please come forward and we'll, I know you've had a little wait. It's been very informative, and I was sitting here thinking, how can we use people's time better? But we'll work on that. Thank
No,
you.
I thought it was wonderful, and it was very, very interesting and very relevant to work that we do as well. So I enjoyed very much being there. Let me see if I can remember how to work the system. Ashley, I did good. Awesome. And I think so, and I just need to do.
Thank you all for being here.
Oh, sorry.
Great presentation.
Let me do that. Still run the slideshow. Thank you so much. And thank you all. Good morning, commissioners. I'm used to being here in the afternoon, so it took me a minute to remember. It's always a pleasure to see you and always a pleasure to be able to tell you about the good work that's going on at your community college at Forsyth Tech. I have some capital projects updates to start with, and then I hope to get to a little bit more information about some of the current happenings at Forsyth Tech. This is all current, but some of the student-related current things that are going on. These are pictures from the actual capital project that we are underway with at the Strickland Center. As you all will recall, this is funded with county bond dollars and is a renovation of approximately 100,000 square feet, a little bit less than 100,000 square feet. We are in process of completing now, and we have about 40%. I'm sorry.
You want to get to your slideshow? There we go.
Oh, can you see it?
It's just now started.
Oh, sorry, it was showing for me.
I'm sorry.
My
apologize.
apologies.
We're
Can
good.
you now see the photos I was
Yes, we can.
talking about?
Thank you.
Good. So these are actual photos of the work that's being done. We're very excited about the work that's being done because our partner in this, the contractor, Garanco Construction, first of all, the owner of that construction company is a graduate of Forsyth Tech, so that always makes us proud. He graduated back in the 1970s, and he and his brother now own this company. And they've done a fantastic job of working around our schedules for the opening of our fall semester. They're about 40% of the work is now complete, and we were thrilled that they were able to pull a part of this out and get it complete for us before we started classes. So on August, just earlier this week, we started our first day of classes, and they were able to have the renovated lobby space in the Strickland Center completed before classes started, and that was a huge help for us as we were welcoming over 8,000 students to campus. So we do believe that this project is going to complete probably a little sooner than we had anticipated, and it's going to be within budget, and that's always a wonderful thing to be able to share with you. So I'll keep you posted as we move through the rest of the construction phase, and if you would like to see any of this, please feel free to let me know, and I'd be happy to show you around. We'd have to wear our hard hats, but we have those available. We are also moving forward, although this is not a big update or a change from the last time I spoke to you about the Transportation Technology Center project. Yes, sir.
I apologize, Dr. Spriggs, but this happens a lot. There is an inset on our screens that blocks about a quarter of your slide.
Okay, let me see if I can, does that work?
There, thank you. Thank
You're
you.
so welcome. I'll have to come over for private lessons on technology next time, Ashley. Can you see now? Is that better? Good. So the Transportation Technology Center project is still underway, but we have been waiting for state construction, and that is just a process that we have to go through. So it is the final design drawings by Walter Robbs, our architect, have been sent to the state. I think that was in early July when we did that. And we are targeting and hoping that we'll have the contractor bidding in late September. And state construction is telling us that we're on track for that. So we're just waiting waiting for them to finish their 60-day construction document review, and then we will bid and get started. We think about 13 months to complete the construction for that project. Really excited. I'm not sure if you have seen this picture. This is a rendering of what we anticipate the new Learning Commons will look like on our campus, and we're very excited about this project. It will complete the quad for our campus, that main campus on Silas Creek. We are currently in the advanced planning stage, and we did submit those preliminary design drawings, which is the first step to state construction, on the 6th of July. So those have been actually approved by state construction. They've accepted our preliminary design, which means that we're well underway, and we will have a full design schematic this fall. This is a construction manager at risk project, and so we have our contractor already, Balfour Beatty, and working with them and with our designer to make sure that we develop the accurate schedule for this project and that we keep this project within budget. Prices are kind of all over the place right now and much inflated from where they were when we had developed our original budget. So we're looking at now starting the demolition process, which is that we have several buildings that are older buildings that are currently on the location for this building that are coming down, and Belfort Beatty is also doing that work for us. So we will continue to keep you updated, and hopefully the next time I come, we have a little bit more information about the specifics on the budget and the size, the square footage that this building will ultimately be. This is a picture of our Bob Green Hall, and I hope that many of you have had an opportunity to visit Bob Green Hall and have a tour. This is where all of our health sciences programs are located. So the nursing program, the nuclear medicine program, the 17 health sciences programs that we offer at Forsyth Tech are located in this building. And I wanted to bring forward to you, basically at this point, just a topic that I'd love to have further conversation with you about. I've spoken with Dudley, our county manager, and he suggested that I bring it forward as a topic for conversation. We were in the process of doing two things. First, we had discovered that we had 28 different deeds for the properties at our main campus. I'm not sure how that happened, but over time, as the college grew and grew over the past 63 years, that's what happened. So our team was looking at ways that we could make that much more simple and create less than 28 deeds. And we were also planning and are planning how we are going to spend the capital money that we have received. And I'm sorry, I don't know what I did, Ashley. Did you lose your... Let me try again to share. Sorry, I don't know what happened. There you go. We are also trying to plan strategically the use of capital funding that we are receiving from the state. So normally the county, where the community college is located, is responsible for all capital expenses for the college campus. However, we've had very good support over the past couple of years from our state legislature as well. And so we want to spend some of the state dollars to do some much needed renovations for this space. However, when we were working on that strategy, we learned that this particular property is still deeded to the county versus being deeded to the trustees of the college. And in order for us to be able to spend state dollars on it, they will not allow us to unless we own the property. So that is something that we would like to have further conversation with you about, and I just wanted to go ahead and bring it to your attention for no other reason except that we thought it would be good to utilize some of that state dollars for this project, and it is becoming a priority for us as those programs are growing. So we can have more dialogue about that at a future date. I wanted to share with you, too, some information not capital related, but rather related to our students and the great work that's going on at the college. We are thrilled that we were once again able to offer the class of 2023 college commitment. We had this in 2021 through dollars from the state longleaf commitment as well as federal stimulus dollars. In 2022, we were able to extend it thanks to, again, to longleaf dollars from the state. We still hope that we're going to get some of that money in the new budget from the state, but we don't have our state budget yet. However, we were able to find ways to provide a college 2023 college commitment for high school students who graduated this year as well. It looks a little bit different in that previously, when we had the federal money, we were able to make it completely free without any expenses for fees or books, as well as tuition. This year, we are not able to include the books because we simply did not have enough capacity in private money to be able to do that. But we are able to offer the tuition free for all students who graduated from any North Carolina high school in 2023. And then we do have some other money for need-based students who have trouble paying for books or paying for other fees associated with matriculating at the college. We also are very excited that this money is going to be able to extend to some of the students who are already with us as well. So we're working on getting new students in from the class of 2023, while we're also making sure that we do the best that we can to keep those students that were part of 2021 and 2022 moving forward to completion. This is a slide that I absolutely love being able to show you, and I like the one that's coming after it even better. So this is the summer enrollment update. I wanted to let you know that our enrollment and our funding from the state is based on our full-time equivalents. And last year, that's based on your summer semester, your fall semester, and your spring semester from the previous year. So last year, we were up a total of 9.2% in headcount for the previous year, which means that we were serving this past year 9.2% increase in students, which took us back to beyond where we were in 2019 before the pandemic started. So we were thrilled about that. We thought we were probably going to be relatively flat or maybe slightly up for this coming year. However, in the summer, we actually increased another 3.8% after increasing about that same amount last summer, which took us to an enrollment this past summer of 4,115 students, which was phenomenal. And we were thrilled to have that news. We also have worked, it's always funny to me when people say, I hope you're enjoying your summer and has it been a nice summer off, because at Forsyth Tech, we don't get the summer off, and we have worked really hard on our fall enrollment. Our fall enrollment numbers are even better than we could have anticipated. We do know that the college 2023 commitment that I just mentioned to you had tremendous impact, but also we are seeing great, I think, work come to fruition. So our partnerships with the Winston-Salem, Forsyth County, and Stokes County school systems, our dual enrollment is growing thanks to those partnerships, and more students are coming to us from our high schools instead of going to universities, and I think that's their best choice for sure. So when this slide was created, it was the first day of class. And it was comparing first day of class this year to first day of class last year. We were 2.9% up, and that was on Tuesday morning. Every morning I get an email, and I get up early so that I make sure I see it when it first comes in, and it tells me where we are with enrollment. Yesterday, I wanted to update this before we sent the PowerPoint to Ashley, and we were up since Tuesday 7.4%. So 8,424 students who were setting themselves up for a better future because they had decided to come to Forsyth Tech. This morning, we're at 8486, if I'm not mistaken. So we actually even added a few more yesterday, and yesterday was the last day of drop add for the first semester. We know that that number is going to shift a little bit. Some of those students came late, and so we are getting them into our second B term, which starts in about 8 weeks. We have 8-week semesters that students are able to enroll in so that they don't have to wait so long to get started. But we are just thrilled with this work, and I think it is a credit to the hard work of all the faculty and staff at Forsyth Tech, the great things they're doing to be proactive, get the word out, and recruit. And it's also thanks to the partnerships that we have with our school systems and with our businesses and industries, our adult learner Reconnect program, where we're bringing back adult students who were almost complete, but for whatever reason had to drop out and did not complete their degrees. And so we're just really excited about this news, and I'll keep you posted as we move through, because I don't think that number will stay exactly there before the end of the semester. And then I just wanted to share these beautiful pictures, but also tell you a little bit about what this is. This is the LPN, our Licensed Practical Nursing Pinning. It's the only one of our health sciences programs that has a pinning ceremony in the summer. because we actually graduate students in the summer for this program. And we had 67 students who graduated from this program. This is 2 weeks ago, almost 3 weeks ago now. 100% of them had employment opportunities. Many of them had already signed on and had signing bonuses when they came to the pinning ceremony. And 70% of them are going to stay right here in Forsyth County and help us with the critical shortage that we have. Additionally, we have students who are going to go to work now as LPNs, but are going to be a part of our LPN to RN bridge program. So they're going to continue at Forsyth Tech. And I would love for you to, when you have a chance, we'll make sure we get the invitations to you. Come to one of our pinning ceremonies. They're the most special thing. It's even better in some ways than graduation. It's much smaller and more intimate, but that is our conference center. It was completely full. And when one student walked across the stage with their little boy in the audience and the little boy yelled, "That's my mama," the rest of them did the same thing, and it became an unbelievable experience just to see how impactful this program is. We also graduated just a few weeks ago our 60th line worker class. This is a wonderful 12-week program. It's about 360 hours. The college began this back in 2010, and now we have graduated more than 1,000 students. They get jobs literally before they graduate. When we have their graduation ceremony at Northwest Forsyth Center, the electrical companies are there fighting over the graduates, and many of them will not sign anything until they've talked to every person there to make sure they're getting the best deal. So another wonderful workforce development program. And we want to thank you for your support of that. And then finally, I would love for you all, you'll get an email from us with an official invitation. I think it's going out this week if you haven't already received it. But we are having our Foundation's Day to Dream Luncheon and Day of Giving supporting our Forsyth Tech Cares program on September 6th at the Forsyth Country Club. This is sponsored by our foundation, and I would love for you all to be my guest. So we'll make sure that we get you the official invitation so that you can respond and RSVP, but I would just love to have you there. You will have an opportunity to hear directly from alumni and students and really see the impact that the community college that you provide such generous support for really has in our community. So I promise that it will be a day you don't forget. And I believe that concludes my presentation, and I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Dr. Spriggs?
I don't, but I would like to say that recently I spent a few hours with so many of your folks at Forsyth Tech and saw some of the programs and visited some of the classrooms. It is so impressive. It's amazing what folks can learn at Forsyth Tech. I just hope that all the high school counselors have been to Forsyth Tech. Mm-hmm. So oftentimes everybody talks about college education, but to me, the Forsyth Tech education is just superior. Yes. And I thank you for what you do for our kids.
Thank you so much, and I totally agree with you, and I'm very unbiased about this opinion, but I think it should be every student out of high school's first choice. It certainly, community college was part of my journey. I learned just yesterday that it was part of our superintendent's journey as well, and so I totally agree with you, and I remind people they still are coming to college. It's just a different take on college, but we certainly are working very closely with the school system. The counselors have been on our campus. They bring their students. We have a very strong partnership, and I do not believe there's anything happening from the school system perspective that is turning students away from Forsyth Tech. I think it's exactly the opposite. There are champions as well.
I hope so. Good.
It'd be great to, on your growth numbers, it'd be kind of great to track how many are local. That's probably available.
It is.
Probably pretty easy. It's a little, you may not collect the data that way, but it'd be neat to know by kind of high school what's going on, and then it kind of, that would be sort of neat.
We do. We have it by high school. We have it by zip code. We have it all kinds of ways that we can definitely share that information. And the majority are from Forsyth and Stokes counties, but we do draw a lot from the surrounding counties, particularly right now in health sciences, as always, but also our public safety training at Northwest Forsyth Center is just expanding incredibly rapidly, and so that's a big draw as well.
Always a good report, and we'll look forward to next quarter.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other
I
questions?
do have one question. Do you happen to know what the dual enrollment numbers are?
I just looked at this yesterday, and I want to say it's around 1,498, which is up from, I think when I came, it was around 900, 800, 900. I can't remember all the years. Last year, we were at just over 1,200, so we grew another almost 300 this year. And we are focusing on that, both at the college level and the school system level, partnerships with Carver, but with all the high schools. The aviation program at the Career Center, and we have a plan to work with both Stokes and Forsyth County for students to gain a year of their degree for the aviation program at our aviation center while they're in high school. And they'll actually possibly even be coming to our aviation center for that training. So we're excited about that as well.
I have one really short follow-up to that question, because I just read an article in the Raleigh News Observer about the calendar discussion is school, the K-12 calendar discussion is actually back on the table after major changes 20 years ago. But in any case, one of the big arguments that was made back at that time was community colleges just adjust their semesters to fit high schools, and then all of a sudden it got all messed up. If that were able to realign again, where the high school semester ended when the community college semester ended, and they were they were almost perfectly parallel for a brief shining moment. And if that were to happen, do you think that would increase your dual enrollment pieces on that?
That's a really hard question to answer. I think it certainly could. However, what I will say is that community college semesters are no longer the same as they used to be. We are adapting to the 21st century, which students are, and honestly, after COVID, students are demanding their education in different ways. So there's a lot of competition with private companies like Google that do short-term certificates, and Coursera that are all online programs. So we now have classes that run curriculum classes all through the semester that are 4-week, 5-week, 8-week, 16-week. And so it's a little bit of a different conversation. I do think that there's obviously evidence that having them together helps, but we've been able to work really well, in my opinion, with our school systems. Our early college and middle college started on August 7th, I think it was. We didn't start till August 15th. The school system here doesn't start until a couple of weeks from now. So we haven't really seen a barrier there recently that I'm aware of. Now, I can ask my team if I'm, not fully informed about that, Dr. Martin, and see if there's any validity to that. But it's a little bit of a changed landscape, I think.
Good. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'll go ahead and call up Tricia McManus. Ms. McManus, our superintendent. Certainly glad to have you. And I know this is a somewhat busy time of the year, and we appreciate we apologize that you had to wait to get your report, but I've already taken a look at it, and some great stuff in it. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. So hi, everybody. Good morning. Still morning for about 35 more minutes. Thank you. And yeah, we had a great meeting yesterday, Janet and I. So those dual enrollment numbers were right in our text chain together yesterday. We were excited about celebrating those increases for our students who are dually enrolled. So thank you. So yeah, we are about to start school. Our teachers came back today into our buildings, and students come back next Monday. So I'll get started with our update. I wanted to start because last Tuesday at our board meeting, we were able to share our most recent market rate update that we received from the state. And I wanted to start with that really quick because it is new information that our board just heard. And so as you look at this, we're excited to still have the highest market trend from the other urban districts in the state of North Carolina. If you look at this, you can see we increased from 21 to 22, so that's what we want to see every year. We want to get back to what our numbers look like back in 2013. And so, but you can see we're moving back in the upward direction. So this slide is about the 10-year trend across all of the urbans: Durham, Guilford, Mecklenburg, Wake, and Winston, and compared to the state as well. So in this next one, it shows the charter. So if our students aren't coming, those that are choosing a different option, where are they going? And if you look at this with charter, the charter school trend, we actually, again, from 21 to 22, we have less students going to charter. If you look at us compared to the other district, we've stayed the lowest in the urban districts for students choosing a charter option. Yes?
That's fascinating graph. I'm very pleased to see our public schools keeping such a relatively large share
Yes.
of the students. What went on with Mecklenburg last year?
Of why they went up in their
Yeah,
charters?
their charters went
Resilient new
down.
charter schools.
Yeah, I think it's also how many are just popping up. We've been fortunate. We're not having a lot pop up here, and I'm not exactly sure, to be honest with you, what happened.
Well,
But I guess you're
Mecklenburg,
saying-
actually, the regular public school system, had a significant trend up, and it seems to be mirrored by a real drop in their charter school enrollment.
Yeah, so I don't know, because it
Sorry.
went up and then it came back down. So interesting, yep.
Of course, part of that answer by the way, this data goes back it was tracked to 1999. And when we started tracking that in 1999, we were fourth out of the five in terms of being low. And by 2013, we caught up. And the choice plan was a big piece of that. People
Yeah.
have some opportunities still
Yeah,
to
yeah.
make some decision-making because, quite frankly, charter schools are about choice.
Yeah,
Charter schools
true.
are decision-making and other things. And I think the fact that we offer a traditional public school choice is still, it's still making a difference.
Yeah, yep, I agree. All right, so the 10-year trend, you can see, wait, is that where I just was? No, you could see this as well with the 10-year trend. I think that is where I already was. Oh, hold on, that was where I already was. Here we go. Private schools. So if you look at the private school trend, we are a little bit up in that one. Still, if you look at comparable to the other districts, you can see where we are with our blue squares. So basically, we are above the state in that one and up a little bit with the private school. Homeschool. So homeschool was interesting from 2020, and that is like right at that, as you all know, the beginning of the 2020 was the pandemic year. So if you look at the homeschool, that really increased from 2019, in 2019, and then in 2020, and then it's back down, it's going back down this year. So a lot of, again, in 2021, still was moving up, the increase, and then we're coming back down with 7.8 compared to 8.5. So that's a lot of parents choosing to, let's homeschool. So the fact that we're getting that back from 8.5 to 7.8 is good. We're going to keep working on that trend, get our kids whose parents have made that choice to get back into our schools. So we're going to keep working on that. And again, improving our magnet schools and improving all of our schools will be instrumental in that. Am I going, here. And so here kind of is a summary. So we are still, again, the highest at 70 of retaining our students in our public schools at 79.4%. So that was good news that, even through a few challenging years, we're getting back to where our students are coming back to us and increasing that, and that is our goal. So a few other things. Dudley and I spoke last week, and he said, he said there were some things if we could bring back to provide updates on, and one of those is our classified salary. We thank you back in the spring for adding that $1 million to the side, and you said, you wanted to see our plan coming back to how we were going to address classified salaries. We had saved dollars ourselves by eliminating some positions, and then you all gave us that extra $1 million for that. And so we're going to be coming back to our board in September. We've hired a third-party consultant who's been working directly with Tommy to look at the plan that was created about 4 or 5 years back. So that is being updated by this person along with Tommy. We're going to be ready to bring a plan back to our board in September, and shortly after that, we'll be able to come back to you all to share what that plan looks like. And that's all being done on market rate. Again, it was done just in 2020, but was it, Tommy, was that right, 2020? So that was only a few years ago, but it's already significantly changed since then. So we're going to bring that back and be able to move forward with our classified increases in compression. Health insurance, we felt that this was really important to know because from the state, Tommy has received new updates on what health insurance is going to cost, and so there's a major increase which will actually impact our budget by an increase of about $810,000 on an annual basis, based on what we're going to be paying per employee has gone up.
Could I ask you quickly when you got that information?
Tommy, when was that? You want to come up?
That's kind of inexcusable.
Yeah.
We're into the new school budget year, planning opportunities, all those kind of things, and this is very late. And that's,
Yeah.
and I am shocked that went up like that. I mean, it's been held to, the legislature and the state health plan is a 4% increase a year. It's what they have been held to for a number of
Yeah.
years. And actually,
And we still
Treasurer
don't-
Falwell's done a good job keeping that, and I'm a little shocked that there was this big gigantic jump of almost 4 times that.
Yep, and we still don't know what the salary increase is going to be, so we still don't know what the raise is going to be. So it's I'm hoping we get our budget soon, hoping. So, oops, I keep going the wrong way. Okay, so another one, ESSER, very quickly. As we enter year 3 of ESSER, this chart has a lot of numbers on it, but just my bottom line is the right balance. So we're entering our final year of ESSER, and we have a balance of $41 million. So I think we started at $215 million. And I know that somebody said there were districts having a hard time spending. I'm not thinking we're one of them, with our last year at $41 million left. And so we will be spending this year, probably about 300 positions were added to we've talked about that with ESSER, more social workers and reading coaches and behavior supports, and all of those things were added. And so we know this is that last year of many of those. So we'll be making important decisions now in the fall about what we need to sustain. We've been doing evaluations on all of the different things that we added through ESSER.
So, but just looking at that number, by this time next year, roughly next July, you should still have 40 million left. Am I reading that right?
No. At the end of June 30, we have to have the money spent. So we have 41 million left in our balance, and we will need to have that spent by June 30.
The middle 2 columns there say 23, 24, which will put you to next June.
Yes.
So
2024, so June 2024, we have to, and actually, the books will close, I think it's September. Tommy, is that right, September?
I actually thought it was, I don't know if ours are the same with ARP, but I thought ours was December.
No, ours is
2024.
September. So we should have everything, we should shoot for June 30th to spend, but you have those dollars that maybe you just have to keep processing payments and things like that. But by September, that's it. We should have all of our reporting done, and that's it. So 41 million, we will have it all spent because we have a budget already outlined for that 41 million. But I wanted you to let you know that's what we have left out of that 215 million that we started with. This will be our 3rd year.
I'm just not sure I understand the chart, but it's...
The chart's confusing?
Well, yes, but go ahead.
Okay. All right. We did that one. And then positions by funding source. I know last year when we came to you all, Tommy has had a chance to clean that up. We talked about how we move your more expensive people onto state dollars. So right now, our number is about 833 employees on local dollars. And so that is, last year when we came to get our budget approved, Tommy had given you all charts that showed which employees were actually paid on each funding source. And so we are at about 833 that are paid on local dollars. Oops, I keep going the wrong way. All right, next little section of this were some updates on some of our projects. One of those is the remodeling of Indiana Avenue. So as you all know, our facilities staff need to be moved soon based on the selling of the property they're at and the company coming in needing that property. So on August 22nd, our board did approve a design contract. That was just last week. They approved the design, the person that will be designing what we're going to be doing with the space. Bids will be published by October, and honestly, the board will approve the general contracting and funding by December. So our goal is to have that done. They've already been in the works of trying to look at design, and Daryl's here if you have any additional questions, but basically, That will be done. We know the timeline with our county to have our staff out. We know that, and we are going to be abiding by that timeline. But we wanted to see you where we were with the remodeling.
Well, obviously, we're talking about Haynes.
Yes,
here.
Haynes,
I
Indiana
didn't-
Avenue.
I didn't know we had a new name for it, but that's
Haynes,
okay.
Indiana Avenue. We don't want people to get confused with Haynes, our school that's alive and well, Haynes
Yeah,
Magnet.
so help me understand the source of your anticipated $10 million that you're going to use to pay for that.
So that is if we were to do, we don't have that plan right now, and our board has not approved anything of that expenditure. That's what it would cost for a full-scale remodeling that building. To get our facilities into that, it's not going to cost that much. I think we have an agreement to do the roof. And Daryl, do you want to come up and talk more specifics? I'll bring Daryl up to talk about more of the specifics. But that would be for a complete overhaul of that building, and that is not what our plan is right now. You want to talk more to that?
Yeah, so we, good morning. So we have broken the Haynes, Indiana Avenue project into 3 phases, and the total amount of the 3 phases is in the $10 million range. That's to completely transition the building back to full use. What the plan is that next June, when we have to be out of the Lansing Drive facility, because we chose not to lease the 3820 building behind 3810, which is the old simulator building, we have to we're putting our trades folks, or our plumbers, electricians, HVAC folks, it's really just more of an office space to do their paperwork. So in order to reopen that phase 1, it's probably in a 3.7 million range. So that will include a roof, converting the gym into a warehouse space for filters and parts and things of that nature, and then the mechanical upgrade. So that'll be phase 1. I don't anticipate phase 2 or 3. It's pretty far out there, that becomes an operational center at that point, and I don't anticipate that anytime soon. So funding for that. There may be some dollars left over from the Liberty Street renovation of 3810. Deli and I've had a little conversation about that. If there is, maybe some of that could be used, but there's not enough there to do that. So the easiest pot to reach into possibly and to have a conversation about is the additional 2/3 funds that you've already provided. And so we'll put that in our list of projects to consider and go to the board with that at some point. That has not been decided at this point. So we'll probably have those final numbers. That 3.5, 3.7 is kind of projected. We should have those final numbers, in the mid-late fall. And so we'll have to move pretty quickly because there's a lot of work to do to be able to get that underway and finished in order to move out in June for Kirby's group to be able to take over the property.
Yeah, I won't belabor it now. I got a few other questions, but I'll leave it. Got it.
Okay. Thank you, Daryl. All right, so, So Philo Hill and Main Street, I know that was something that Dudley was interested in, is about our move of our Philo Hill students and our Main Street students. So Philo Hill construction, as you all know, that is one of our bond projects, 2016 bond projects. We're at the state of getting that building ready to go. And so basically, by moving the students out of the building, we will save $1.4 million that it would have costed had we kept the students there, not to mention how long it would take. And so there is a savings to move the students out of the building. With that said, we went to our board to figure out, to get approval on where we were going to put the students. So Philo Hill is a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade school, and so we needed a place for them. And so we moved them into Main Street, where Main Street is. It's a great facility. It has enough space to be able to do all the grade levels, all the specials classes, all of the different needs that they have. We originally thought, well, could we co-locate both schools in that one building? But our board, in conversation with our board and with staff, and with the school 2 principals, it was decided, no, we need a different location for the Main Street Academy students. And so we basically started looking where could we actually go with this, and one of our board members said, well, have you looked, there was a charter school at one point at the property at St. Peter's Outreach. It was a school at one time, so they might have allow you to move in there with minimal, like having to do a lot of construction or any, like putting money into it. We didn't want to invest money into a site that would not be our site. And so they did. They had a school there. The lease negotiation is at $6.50 square foot, which is actually low for square footage at this time. And so we went to the board and asked for fund balance a couple of months ago for the entire move, which would be both schools, at $1 million, which is actually a savings from what it would have cost us had we just left the kids there and then tried to work around them. And so with that said, it's to move our students there with that lease negotiation is going to cost about $700,000, the Philo move. So we're going to end up being probably at or under the $1 million we asked our board for. But it will allow us to expedite the reopening of Philo, which is really important that we get that project finished.
I got serious heartburn on this one.
Okay.
Simply because we're talking about, what would you say the maximum enrollment for Main Street Academy was last year?
It was probably the highest at one time was probably about 60 students. It can get up to 100, but I think the highest was about 60 students last year.
So you're talking about 780, you're leasing 780 square feet per student.
So
just as I mean, this is a gigantic space for less
Yeah.
than,
So it's
on a number that never made it to 100.
Yeah.
And you'll probably open, like, you may
It's
have a few,
actually-
something left over from last year, but I'm having some real heartburn in terms of
it's
that
actu-
kind of cost.
Yeah, it's actually a smaller space than where they're at now, at Main Street. I mean, as far as the square footage. The reason, and people think, well, why didn't you move Philo there? It doesn't, so a schooling, as you know very well, is not just about the square footage, and it's not just about the space. You have to have rooms for different things. You've got to, and at that space, they still have a gym. They still have things that they need, that our students need. And so we're looking at it as, it is still a savings of what we would spend had we just kept everybody where they were. And number two, both schools now will have what they need for the students to thrive. And so Philo, this is starting at 40 students that are returning in the fall. I mean, not Philo, Main Street. And that number can go up. I hope it doesn't, because that means we're keeping kids in their schools if it doesn't go up. But yeah, so we're not looking at as how many students are there. We're looking at what is the education that we need to give our students, including our Main Street students.
I'm not going to argue
Yeah.
except to say, don't use the word savings. By the way, you own Main Street. I mean, you own it now.
True, and that's why
you don't own this one.
True. We looked at other places too, Dr. Martin, and many of them would have needed renovations to be up and running as a school. And so this one, minimal. All we needed to, the only thing we are doing is putting up some dividers, which is minimal expense. And we're not there doing utilities, so there's other parts of the agreement that make it an appealing agreement. Not to mention, they were the one facility, since it had operated as a school, that was pretty much move-in ready, other than us putting up those petitions. When I say savings, I meant savings in the fact that that had we not had a place to move Philo, we would have spent $1.4 million more to try to work around them on their own campus. And so moving them to Main Street and we're not spending the 1.4. Right. And hopefully we're not even going to be spending one when it's all said and done. So,
Tricia.
Yes.
Yeah, so I appreciate the way that the board has thought through this for the students. I understand, Dr. Martin, and the savings, but you're only there for 18 months, right? So the second question, well, I'll have two questions in terms of the space and where they're currently located. How far are the students having to commute, or the parents having to commute if they're taking their children? Is transportation also going to be provided?
yeah. So transportation will continue for all of the students at both sites, and they're both in the same zone. So that we looked, that was the other thing we had to look for, is we wanted Main Street in the same zone, so it's very close. And we wanted the Philo Hill in the same zone and the Main Street students close
and
by
I
as well.
understand the landscape of St. Peter's World Outreach, that center. I've been over there before, and that's a phenomenal space. So, like I said, you're only there for 18 months, so it makes
18
sense.
months, and if we finish the project early, I mean, it could end up being less than that. So hopefully we get this project done as quickly as possible. And then bond update. Here are the other 2016 projects. So we just talked about the Philo Hill magnet renovation. Brunson, we are still in that design phase for Brunson, the new Brunson Elementary. East Forsyth High renovation, we are in design development there as well, and you can see our anticipated completion on each of these projects. And then Ashley, we are still in the process of designing that schematic for the school, hoping that we get funding for that project soon.
So I know that Daryl was telling us that there may be some issues with the land acquisition, all of that. Has that been resolved?
For Ashley, I thought that was resolved, the land
give me a
acquisition.
thumb up. Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
the land acquisition has been resolved for Ashley.
Thank you.
So we have, the design is in the works, will be done in spring of
we just need
2024.
to
We've
find you
got the
some
land.
money.
Yeah, now we need to have the money
Find you
to
some
build it.
money. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Could I ask you?
Yes.
Has there ever been another elementary school that was $50 million?
That cost $50 million? You know what, I have not heard of one at that price. I've heard, I think 38, 40, or 42, is that right, Daryl, as far as the highest cost of an elementary school? I don't know, but I think that's probably one of the highest, but I'm not 100% sure.
Is that because
know?
of the impact of that
you
brownfield
will
site
you
and
will
all
just-
of that?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was just asking, is that the result of consideration? It's a brownfield site and all of that that the district
Yeah,
has
it
had to
did
do?
cost a little bit more with that, but it's a hard number to swallow right there when you will know in 2010, 11, we built them for $11 million. And so it's tough. I mean, Dr. Spriggs referred to construction cost, and I've never seen anything like it. I'll just tell you, East Forsyth project scares me a little bit. I was talking to yesterday, the supply chain. So we have to change the whole electrical grid out when we do this project, and the electrical panel is 90 weeks out in delivery. 90.
Gosh.
So before we even put a shovel in the ground, we got to order a panel. So there are a lot of struggles in that world right now on the construction side. I'm not really sure where it's going. I would have never believed over an 8-year period that we're in of this bond that prices would have done what they have done. But I mean, some of them are tracking. Even if you go back and look at DPI, they have a spreadsheet with all the average construction costs for across the state. And it has gone from 180, 230, to right now, $440 a square foot, and East Forsyth is tracking every bit of 500. And so we are having to value engineer as much as we possibly can in order to try to make this work. It is something I've never seen before, but.
The other question I have as it relates to the schematic design for Ashley Elementary School. The dollars, from my recollection, was there. Now, the total amount to build the school wasn't there, but there was dollars allocated to pay for the design. So am I just,
So why are we having any there? Do you
is
know
there a
we have any there?
misunderstanding with
I'm not
that
sure.
part right there?
No?
Yeah, those funds are in the 2016 bond.
Okay.
Yes.
How
$1
much,
million.
I think she's asking how much was that?
So
Why is
what
that?
is the NA, what does the NA mean? right there?
So the NA is, I guess, the total construction budget.
Oh, okay.
Is not known at this time because we haven't gone to bid yet. So we'll have those, schematic design in the spring. We could probably have a better idea what that's going to look like.
It was $1 million for the design. My memory, I think, is right on
Tricia
that.
and Daryl, I think that a couple years ago, that $1 million we moved to utilize the purchase of the lands.
I figured thought you spent, it's money, but I thought you spent different money to buy the site, and you sort of still knew you had to pay for the,
That is correct.
Okay.
Two different pockets.
Gotcha. All right, thank you.
So that's why it's CNA though, because it's not, that's, once we know the construction price, that'll be on there. And then you can see the ongoing updates we continue to make. So last but not least, I wanted you to kind of have the state of where we are with vacancies. I know this is these are numbers that people are interested around the state and actually the country. And so as you look at our vacancies right now, this was as of Wednesday, we're at about 137 teacher vacancies, which is about 58 better. We're better 58 than last year. So we continue to, we're making improvements in our numbers. Our HR recruitment team has been incredible, just beating down the streets. Like they're at every event, they're at around the community, and we've had a lot of hires based on that. And so we are about 141 better when you look at total staff than we were when we were last year. All of those vacancies in there, principals have plans for every one of them. In some cases, it may be collapsing at classes, numbers might be low. So everybody has a plan for each of those vacancies. It's creative scheduling and other things that we're doing. Because our goal is, even though we present this as vacancies, it really is every student having an effective teacher in front of them for the entire day. And so that's really the goal, without putting a drain on everybody else within the building. And then when it comes to our driver vacancies, and you probably saw a press conference that we asked to be held because we wanted to get the news out to families early, and that is that, and we had the same number, we had 57 last year, so we're starting the year kind of in the same boat with bus driver vacancies. And so what we've done different this year is we know exactly the times that buses will be arriving to pick up kids at bus stops and what time they'll be getting home, and that's what we're communicating to parents so that they're not waiting and not knowing on the first day of school and that week. But we're continuing to work to get drivers, and those efforts will not stop. The good news was about kitchen assistants. We actually had an issue last year, but this year we really do not have an issue in that area. 40 is not bad to start the year out.
Tricia, I want to go back to your other slide and congratulate you and the staff, the board as well, for thinking through utilizing the millennials and the community colleges and the colleges for teachers. I have seen all over social media, them getting new positions and new jobs as teachers, and they're very excited. And I think the younger people definitely need it to help these younger folks that are in school. So thank you for thinking through that. Yeah.
We had our new teacher orientation Monday. We had close to 300 new teachers, and the goal now is to support and retain them so that we are not needing 300 a year. Like, we need to really retain that group. And we were up about 20% retention last year of new teachers compared to the year before. So retaining our teachers is really important. We invest a lot in them, and so if you lose them, you're losing money. So that's our goal. And so basically, let's see, nope, keep going backwards. I don't know what's wrong with me. Do you have any additional questions? It is, one other thing, it is our 60th year as a school district. Some of you probably remember that when we merged to create Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools. And so we're having a big kickoff next Friday at Bowman Gray with all employees, and just to celebrate the start of a 60th year. It's going to be a great one. And one very last thing is, I can't share now because all of our data is embargoed at this time still, but we continue to decrease, and it'll come out very soon, but decrease our low-performing schools and our schools that are rated DNF. And one thing I'm going to say, and hopefully I don't get in trouble for, but we are going to have our highest graduation rate in the history of our district this year. So that's exciting news, and we'll continue to work on that data. Like, we are continuing to work at improving our proficiency levels for kids. So, yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. Dr. McManus, looking back at that last number slide that you had that included the bus driver vacancies, custodians, and kitchen assistants, I just would like to say that in preparing the plan for the additional $1 million, I hope that one of the top priorities will be addressing that particular shortfall. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Those are the folks, among others, that you will see in that plan, but all the classified groups will be part of that plan.
Certainly all classified groups, but again, in terms of prioritizing.
Yep, bus drivers have to be.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
When are the state test scores going to be released?
So as far as to the public, it's after the state board meeting, so it's early September. So it should be like in 2 weeks.
They're like a month late. Why? I got to thinking, here we are with totally electronic tests and so forth. Why are we a month later?
We have the data. We already got our growth and our proficiency so I'm not sure the release, they wait till the state board meeting. So I guess.
Well, they do at the state board meeting, but they used to do it in August. It's a minor issue.
I wish they would. I wish they would.
I'm glad you've got good, I'm glad you gave us a hint that there's good news.
It's getting better. It is not where it needs to be, but it is getting better and better each year. So, yeah, we're excited about this school year. Yes.
I do have just a couple of questions. One, back to the allocation of local dollars to certain positions. And I guess this question is maybe to Tommy. Do we have the categories even of what those positions are that we're paying for locally, or even more granular, what kind of positions
We do. We can give you that.
Okay.
That's one reason I brought Lisa. I'm like, Lisa, can you start coming and writing the questions? We make sure we follow up immediately.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can get you those. I think we gave them to you last in the spring, but there may be some differences as Tommy's moved people
Yeah.
from funding. So we'll give you those.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And then the second question is about the Philo Hill magnet. Has the school district decided yet what kind of magnet Philo Hill will become?
Yes, it is a STEAM magnet. Yesterday I visited the staff. They were already back, and were in a training on project-based learning. So they are so excited, but it is going to be a STEAM school.
So STEAM
yes.
with the arts.
Yes.
And this is not, I mean, the lane of the county commissioner. I think, we understand that the role at the school board is to determine what kind of school it should be. I guess my concern is just that if the magnet doesn't draw kids to the school, then we're at the issue around, we need to build another school because the children in that assignment area are not attracted to the magnet.
Yeah.
And therefore, we're back at a scenario where the county has to support the building of another school to accommodate kids leaving the school, going further out, a lot of times in the county. So I just wanted to kind of put that on record that,
Yes.
that the magnet is substantiated with, great programming, and there's intentionality around maintaining the students that already live in that assignment area, and also attracting students
To it.
from other areas to, maintain the adequate and adequate number that should be in that school,
Yeah.
which is what, 700 or so? I
Yes.
think that's the maximum capacity.
Yeah. Yeah, and the goal, I was just, again, with the principal yesterday, with the new theme and the new energy we have a principal that last year was her first year there. That is the goal, is to bring kids back, the ones that have chosen away, but bring them back to the school. And the STEM and STEAM have been the schools with the largest wait list, and in our surveys, that's been kind of the hot topic, is the STEAM. And we did STEAM, so you have the arts in there too, which was one of the plans originally for Philo. But it's the sciences and arts and engineering all together.
So do you all have any maybe specific programming? So we have science, technology. Is there like a specific program in science or technology? For instance, you probably heard a drone kind of, the drone presentations today. Is there any kind of thought around what if we were able to introduce drone programs?
There are, and I know that our CTE, Kim Forbes, has been working closely with Fran and our science team, so I'll get you what the specific programming is going to be there. I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, that'll be something else we bring back. Well,
Other questions?
thank you all so much.
Apologize for the lateness. Thanks for
It's
being here.
okay.
We'll look forward to 3 months
Thank you
from
all.
now.
Do you want me to close out, Ashley? I'll just close out there.
I
Okay.
have a suggestion
Thank you.
for go ahead. I just have a suggestion in timing, and please, this is off the top of my head. I suspect we could all use a break, and I was going to suggest maybe we break for lunch from maybe, let's say 12 to 1, and then at 1 o'clock, we could come back in here, talk about item 5 discussion. We could allocate a maximum of 45 minutes or 40 minutes. Then we'd have a little break before the 2 o'clock. How does that sound, everybody?
Good.
All righty, good. Adjourn. Thanks. Postpone.